All right, guys, now we're warmed up. We should all be participating in this next one. Clap your hands, come on. Staring into your eyes makes my heart come alive. Suddenly brought to life when I met you. Reaching beyond the skies, running deep, stretching wide. Perfect love realized here with you. This love is for real, you will never let go, never let go. Oh, it's more than just words that beyond my control, out of control. This is real love, this is real love. This is real love, this is real love. Oh. Sing it out with me. Pulling me closer, closer, holding my heart till the very end. Jesus, I'm found in your freedom. This is real love, this is real love. In your heart, I'm found. I want you, I want you. You won't let me down. You got me, yeah. This love is for real, you will never let go, never let go. Oh, it's more than just words, love beyond my control, out of control. You're pulling me closer, closer. You're holding my heart till the very end. Jesus, I'm found in your freedom. This is real love, this is real love. Oh. Come on, nice and loud. Hey, hey, hey. Pulling me closer, closer. Holding my heart till the very end. Jesus, I'm found in your freedom. This is real love, this is real love. All right, guys. We're small in number, but we're going to be really loud. Staring into your eyes makes my heart come alive. Suddenly brought to life when I met you. Nice and loud. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is real love, this is real love. You're pulling me closer, closer. You're holding my heart till the very end. Jesus, I'm found in your freedom. This is real love, this is real love, this is real love. Woo! All right, guys, I'm going to pray for us really quick. Jesus, we love you so much. Open our hearts to hear what you want us to hear tonight. In Jesus' name, amen.
I am not too young.
I am not too young.
I'm the same age as Kenzie, who started a nonprofit. I'm the same age as
Jackson and Tristan in Boston.
They donated 10,000 backpacks to orphans and fosters.
I'm not too young. I'm the same age as the class in Denton, Texas, who invented shelters for disaster relief. I'm the same age as the guy who invented Superman. I'm the same age as the inventor of Braille. And someone my age invented the popsicle. Those were my peers.
They all look like me.
And the world is better because they dared to believe they could do anything. I can do anything. I can change history. I am not too young. Actually, the world is too old for me to
wait to change it.
I am today's generation, and
For too long, I have been patient. My actions matter. The things I say, the things I do, the things I believe. Cast ripples through the lake of now, but will become waves in the ocean of forever.
I'm
Not too
Young.
What up? Sick. Oh yeah, guys, check out my new shoes. Check out the new sneakers. Big fan of the USA, red, white, and blue, all the way. That rhymed. That was crazy. Did you hear that? Big fan of the USA. What did I say next? Red, white, and blue all the way. Boom. Rhyming. What? Yeah, they do give me an extra inch. That's okay though. How are you guys doing? Okay. So everybody started school, right? Everybody start school so far? Who has not started school yet? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 people? Wow. When do you start school? Tomorrow? When? September something? Where do you go to school? Oh, okay. That's fair. Homeschool, that's fair. That's pretty awesome, dude. That's pretty sweet. Well, yeah, guys, it's been 1 month since we've had Garage on a Wednesday night, like a regular, normal Garage. And I'm not gonna lie, I missed you. I've missed you, like, worship and going crazy and going nuts in here, playing fun games. So tonight is gonna be good for me to get back to regular rhythms, okay? But here's the deal. We're starting this new series, Not Too Young, right? Who in their life, right, sometimes in the world that we live in right now, feels like you can't do some things because you're too young? You feel like that ever? You ever feel like you can't do some things because your age says you can't? Shh, bring it in, right? So everybody's probably felt like that at some point in their life, right? Where we think we can't do things. Hey, Dalton, thanks, dog. We don't need a drum anymore. We can't do things because we think we're too young, right? We think we can't do things because the world has told us that you can't think on your own. You can't make decisions on your own, right? You can't do things by yourself because you're too young. I remember for me, I had that experience all the time. So here's a quick story, quick recap of my life. Shh. When I grew up, I had 3 older siblings, and I had 1 younger sibling. So as long as I can remember, 3 other people that were very close to me got to do things before I could do them. Every one of my older siblings got to go to the movies before I could, got to have a phone before I could, got to drive a car before I could. All of my life, my siblings have been doing things before me. And every excuse that my parents came up to boiled down to, Jack, you're too young. Jack, you're in 8th grade. You can't go hang out with a senior in college. That just doesn't work. They're not your age. You're too young. Jack, you can't have a phone because you're too young. You don't need a phone. What do you need a phone for? That was 10 years ago. Today, you guys might be living in the world of maybe you have a phone, but maybe you're too young to have social media. Maybe you're too young to download any game that you want to play because you're too young. It doesn't change. Everything just gets a little bit broader. You guys are living in the same world I lived in where you're too young. The world tells you you're too young. Everyone else gets to do their own thing because they're old enough. But you're too young. Tonight, and in this series, we're going to talk about how you're not too young. You're not too young. And we're going to go into some different things through the series, but tonight, all I want you guys to focus on is that you're not too young no matter what. You're not too young. Right? There's things in life that middle schoolers kind of get thrown into of you're not old enough, you don't understand it, right? And the biggest one I could think of was faith. Following God, going to church. You're too young to think on your own. You're too young to understand all the complexities of who Jesus is, what God is doing in your life, what you're going to do with your life. You're too young. That's what the world says. Right? You think it's just for grown-ups because they're adults, they can understand it. I don't need to look into it. I don't need to do anything with it. It's not my thing. Maybe it's something that you've just never even thought about. Because you're like, it is just for adults. I don't need to get into that. I'll get into that when I'm older, when I can understand it. Maybe it's confusing for you, or it's just frustrating and you can't understand anything. So you say, not now. You're too young to be able to choose what you believe, who you're going to follow. You're too young. Or maybe you've decided to follow Jesus. Maybe you've been baptized. Maybe you've accepted Jesus into your heart, and you've already made that thing like, that's my goal. But still, even still, when you're in middle school right now and you say, Jesus is at the center of my heart, I live for him every day, even still, I bet there's times where you go, I'm too young to do something so great. I don't know if Jesus actually has a plan for me. I'm too young to do great things. Tonight in this series is about how we are going to flip that over on itself and say, we're not too young. You're not too young to do great things. I think God has given middle schoolers specifically something so special. You guys have everything in the world you need right now. You don't have to think about paying bills, getting to work, doing all these crazy things. You have to go to school to learn. You have to maybe do some chores every now and then. But you've got a house, you got food, you get taken to your friend's house, to your games, to school, to all the things that you want to do. You have everything you need right now, and you can start making a difference now because you're not too young. That's the lie we're going to flip over on itself. You're not too young to start making a difference right now. To help us do that, to help us understand what it looks like to be told that you're too young and this lie comes out of nowhere and it says you can't do anything on your own, we're going to flip on it, and this is where we're going to go. We're going to go to this New Testament book called 1 Timothy. And 1 Timothy is written by a guy named Paul. We've heard of Paul. Paul is a guy that I talk about all the time. He's like the Bible hero except for Jesus. He's the guy you want to know. This guy bleeds, breathes everything the gospel to any person. If you knew Paul, you knew Jesus. Paul, this guy that just bleeds and breathes Jesus and gospel and what the goodness of God does, is telling this guy, Timothy. He's telling Timothy this thing. This one thing that I think is really important, but this is why it's important, because Timothy was like 35 years or something younger. I don't really know for a fact, but he was like Paul was like an old man, and Timothy was this young dude, no experience, but loved Jesus. Followed Jesus. Paul goes to Timothy, and he's giving him this encouragement that's saying something so cool. Okay, so this is what Paul says to Timothy. He says, I remember your genuine faith, for you share the faith that first filled your grandmother Lois and your mother Eunice. And I know the same faith continues strong in you. If this helps you understand how old Paul is and how old Timothy is, it means Paul knows his grandma and his mother and Timothy. There's a gap of age here that's shocking. But Paul says something at the very beginning of this verse that's so important. I remember your genuine faith. Your genuine faith. And here's the thing, genuine is just a word for real. Real. Like, it's right, it's real. It's so authentic. It's right there. I know you because it's so real. He knows that his faith, and it keeps him going because it's his own faith. Paul knew that Timothy could handle anything and go into any situation because he knew that Timothy's faith was so real, it didn't matter how old he was. He could make a difference in the world because it was his own faith. It was Timothy's faith. And the thing about it is that he says that I know your grandma, I know your mother, they followed Christ, and now you follow Christ. But it wasn't that Timothy just lived a life like his mom and his grandma and did everything that they did. The part of this is that beginning that verse, it says your genuine faith. It's your faith. It's your real faith. Paul knows that Timothy can handle telling people about Jesus because it's his real own faith. And he's not too young. He's not too young. But Paul, knowing that Timothy had this great faith and real faith, he says, this guy's going to do things for the gospel. He's going to tell people about Jesus. He's got to be in charge of something. And so it'd be like me, if Paul was here running this church in Parker, right? And then he had Timothy, he said, Timothy, you're going to do big things. It doesn't matter how old you are. You need to go to Denver to tell people about Jesus. And I don't care what they think or how old you are or what they think about how old you are or what you're doing while you're over there being younger than I am. I need you to go to Denver to tell people about Jesus. So Timothy says, yeah, I'll go for it. And Timothy takes on this role of being in charge of this church, Ephesus, right? He takes control of this church. He's leading these people to know Jesus. But people in that church over there are older than Timothy. They don't really value his opinions. They don't really believe that he has the ability to lead this church because he's young and they're all old. And so Paul writes again to Timothy. He writes his letters because they can't text and tweet and call each other and FaceTime. He has to write a letter or go meet in the same city at the same time to talk to this guy. So Paul writes to Timothy a second time and he says this. Don't let anyone think less of you because you're young. Be an example to all believers in what you say, in the way you live, in your love, in your faith, and your purity. Paul says there's another way. It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter what the experience you have is. You're ready right now. That's why I sent you there. You're ready right now. No matter what Timothy's age was or experience, he had the ability to tell people about Jesus, the glory of God, and make people know who Jesus is. Because it's something that we say at Garage all the time, or I say all the time, is if you know Jesus, it changes everything, right? Knowing Jesus changes everything in your life. Even if you walked by Jesus, your life has changed. Something's different. But if you follow him, it's crazy how changed you are. Paul knew that Timothy could be an example of pure, genuine, real faith through his words and his actions in his life, how he lived in that church. And here's the thing. I hope in this series is about being in life right now. This same thing that Timothy experienced and what Paul was teaching Timothy, same right here. Right now. You're not too young to do anything great. You're not too young to make your faith your own. You're not too young to be an example of what real, genuine, authentic faith looks like. And the thing is now what? How do we do that? How do we get into that rhythm? And Ben, you guys can come back up as we go into this. The way you can start making your faith your own There's a couple things. There's a couple things that we can do to make our faith our own. Make it real. And it's just like Timothy did. Be confident in yourself. Be confident. Timothy knew, even though his mom and his grandma knew who Jesus was and followed Christ, he said, that's great. I want to follow too. And I'm going to do it my way with Jesus. I'm going to follow Jesus and be confident because I don't think that he believed he was too young. I think he was confident in saying, I can, right now. Number 2, I think it's just what Timothy did too, is he continued to grow. So what next we do is we do one thing that we can do to grow our faith. Do one thing to grow your faith. And all of us start at a different place, right? Maybe it's your first time tonight, and just coming next week is one thing you can do to be different, to grow in your faith, to be confident coming back one more time. I know a lot of you guys come here every week. You come on Sundays. Maybe the next step to grow your faith is starting to ask questions in small group. Don't just answer questions, ask questions. What are you thinking about when you think of your faith? Maybe it's reading the Bible once in the week. Maybe it's sharing with your friend, come to youth group. What's one thing that you can do to grow your faith? And small groups is a great place for it, I think. It's where you get to be real, you get to be honest with yourself, with people who care about you and love you. That's why all the leaders come every week, in and out, to talk and hang with you. Maybe you can ask them some questions. Ask them what their faith looks like. But I want you guys to know tonight and in this series, you're not too young to make your faith your own. You can start right now. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for today. Thank you for letting us get back into garage regular rhythms and getting to have fun and sing and get to know you more, God. I pray that you come into this room right now and you make us different. Make us different than when we came in today. And it's not too late and we're not too young. We can change and be better and be more like you right now. Help us to see those opportunities to be more like you, Jesus. It's in your name we pray. Everybody says,
I want to ask you guys to take this next moment to just worship with us, okay? Come on forward.
Peace, bring it all to peace. The storm surrounding me, let it break. At your name, still, call the sea to still, the raging need to still every way. At your name, cannot be overcome. And your name is alive, forever lifted high. Your name cannot be overcome. Jesus, Jesus, you make the darkness tremble. Jesus, Jesus, silence speaks. Jesus, Jesus, you make the darkness tremble. Jesus,
All right, we're going to get into our powwows, guys. Know that you are loved and prayed for and accepted here just the way you are. If you don't know where your powwow meets, come find me. I'll help you find your spot. 6th grade boys. Where do you go? 6th grade boys, you're in the lobby. I will be out there in 5 seconds. Lobby, chairs.